Hello, everyone. First of all, please let me know if you can hear us and see us. Welcome to another webinar for teenagers by Early Stage. Today, my guest is Kira O'Rourke, and she's going to tell us about her passion for Irish dancing. We are going to start with the vocabulary review, but feel free to ask questions on the chat, and we will answer them either during the interview part or at the end of the webinar. Okay, so let's see if you worked on the vocabulary on our platform. If not, I have some visuals to help you with the answers as well. Let's see. Okay, so I have the words here. You can see an image and then the definition. So what is an Irish word for competition? And here, Kira, you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation. Okay. I'm not an Irish speaker, so I might mispronounce something. Okay, so let's see if we have an answer for the first. Okay, we have one answer here. Can you read it on the chat, Kira?
Okay, so I'm on the chat. I can't see it. Oh, yes, okay. So yes, someone has written fish.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's how you read it. Okay.
Yeah,
okay, let's see if that's correct. It is indeed. Okay, so now we have the second one. A traditional Irish group dance done in performances or in competition. And that is another Irish word, right?
It is, yeah. Okay, so will we wait for answers?
Yeah, let's see if somebody answers.
Yeah, so this one is a Keely.
Keely.
Well done.
Keely. Okay.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. This is because they're Irish words, so it's a little tricky. So you say fish and Keely, like a Keely dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has nothing to do with any rules of pronunciation in English, right?
Absolutely not. No, it's very different to English, so don't worry about it.
Okay, and that is a correct answer. Then the next one has a slightly easier pronunciation, I think. So soft-laced shoes used in light dance categories such as reels and slip jigs. Do we have an answer? Okay, from Hannah. Is that a correct answer? Yes, it is indeed. Very good. Okay. Okay, so another set of 3 words for you guys. The first one is a different type of shoe, and it's used for heavy dance categories, and it makes loud sounds as you dance, right?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
It's river dance shoes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see who is gonna be first with this answer then. I see you guys have some sort of a competition there on who is first. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Dorota. It is the correct answer. Very good. The next one, an Irish dance school dress worn by lower level competitors and in public performances. What is that? Let's see if we have an answer for that. Okay, team costume. Let's see if that's correct. Very good. Okay, and then like an opposite to that, right? So this is a costume worn by more advanced dancers who are participating in solo dances. Okay. Okay, solo costume, Dorota first again. Okay, very good. And the last 3 words. The first one is an Irish dance to the time signature of, and this is 6/8, or 6/8. Let's see. What dance is that? A jig. Okay, very good. Let's see. That is correct. And then the next one is 4x4. Also an Irish dance. Okay, aerial, very good. And the last word, a click of hard heels of the heavy shoes when the feet pass each other. Yeah, we had some issues finding an image for that, right? It's really hard to catch it.
Very quick move, so it's very hard to catch on camera. So this is part of it.
Okay. Front click. Yes, and that is correct. Well done. Okay, so that's it when it comes to vocabulary. Now we can do some more proper introduction. So Kira is our expert today. She's been training or practicing or Irish dancing since she was very little, right? We worked together in Qatar. She's one of my Qatar base of speakers for the webinars. She left Qatar for a while, but she's back now, and you're teaching, right, at the moment?
I am, yes. I sort of was born in Ireland, grew up in Ireland, and then I did my teacher training in London, in England. And then I taught in England for a while before moving to Qatar. And so that's where I met you. And then we're working together on the same team for a while. And then, like you mentioned, I left Qatar and I went to Thailand for a year. So I was teaching there. So that was really good. But Qatar has something about it. We absolutely missed it. So we turned right back around and we came back to Qatar. So I'm currently teaching again in Qatar in the same school that we worked out before.
And can you tell us a little bit how the COVID situation has affected your life?
Wow. It's affected everyone really. Like when you think about how it's all around the world, you see a lot of similarities. Like, for example, here, we heard we knew that it was sort of spreading, and we'd got news that it was in Qatar. And then the Ministry of Education here decided quite quickly to shut down the schools. But what that meant for us as teachers was that we had very short notice to actually prepare the students and even just prepare for what our online life was going to look like. And that was about 10 weeks ago now. So we finished off and we had the rest of the week just to prepare for the online learning. We've just really had to jump into like using Google products, Google Classroom. We're all Google certified teachers, which really, really helped. But a day in the life of an online teacher really is just nonstop, because you're up in the morning, you're automatically, replying to emails, you're, doing video calls, you're not only replying to student emails, but also parent emails. You're having meetings with your teams, and you're still doing all of the things that you do in school, but it just seems to take a little bit extra time, a little bit more, and even like marking work online, things like that. So it's been keeping me really busy. So that's been really good for me, just because then I'm not sitting around looking for things to do. We got. Huh?
That's one way to look at it.
That's why what? Sorry.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
I'm always one for looking on the positive side of things. As well, like things are changing all the time. So I was telling you earlier, Dorota, we had an announcement this morning actually, which was that they were going to sort of, with the lockdown procedures, they're actually making them more strict. So we were told to download an app today, and the app is, everyone has to download it, and you have to, if you're looking to go outside for anything, so whether it's to go shopping or go to the pharmacies, because they're really the only things opened, and you have to apply through the app, and just so they can give you permission to go outside. And you have to be wearing masks when you go out as well. So it's a way of kind of tracking who's going outside and how often you're going outside. But for us, that would be quite often because we have a dog. So we want to walk the dog every day, give it some exercise, and even ourselves. So every day from now, we're going to have to sort of get permission for that on the app, which is just strange, really, really strange.
Is it possible to get that permission denied for some reason? So
I don't know. Like, I think at the moment they're just trying to sort of track, get sort of data and track. So, for example, how often are people going out? Or they can also sort of track then with GPS on the phone. If you're walking near someone with that has suspected COVID or has been in contact with someone else with it, then they're able to contact you as well. So I think it can be a positive thing really in sort of cracking down on it and to sort of stop the spread. But hopefully.
And what happens? So then, for example, the delivery people. So every time they deliver food from a restaurant to you,
I think in theory, they would probably have the app to say, I'm a worker, or I have to do this every so often. To be honest, it's only really been announced today. So I think everyone's still in limbo really about how it's actually going to look and what's going to happen. So.
Okay. All right. So maybe let's move on and talk a little bit about Irish dancing. Can we start with you telling us why did you start, or what made you start practicing this sport? Can I call it a sport, or is it more like an art?
I would, but I know that a lot of people don't. So it depends. So basically, when you grow up in Ireland, no matter where you grow up, it's so ingrained in the culture there that it's a cultural thing. So it's just kind of natural that everyone would, whenever they start sort of school age, they would also start like Irish dancing lessons. So there's lots of Irish dancing teachers around. And sometimes they get involved with schools and they'll actually teach like some PE lessons. They'll be teaching Irish dancing. Some schools don't do it though, and you'd have to go to it like in a local community centre or sort of hall that you can gather and do lessons. So it's just sort of natural. Everyone knows like the basics of Irish dancing, and usually that continues. It's quite natural to continue that right through primary school, so up until the age of about 10 or 11. And then usually after that, when we go into secondary school, that's when you'll find a lot of students kind of dropping off, and they grow up and they get new hobbies, or they're into other sports and things like that. But I think for me, when I started, again, it was just one of these things where it was a weekly thing that I went to. It was fun to see my friends. We would learn a few steps. Our Irish dancing teacher used to give us sweets at the end. It was great. And then, as I got older, my Irish dancing teacher taught us more, and then I just practiced more and I got better and better. And then I was sort of going to more and more lessons. So it built up from once a week to twice a week to 3 times a week. And then I started competitions. So I started going to local feshes around the place. And then you just get hooked and you get into it because you start winning competitions. You bring home medals and trophies. And then you get into, okay, well, now that you've progressed, you can wear a solo dress and you can get a wig and you can do this, that, and the other. So for me, when I got to secondary age, I just loved it that much. Like my parents and my siblings used to, they used to be like, will you stop dancing? Because I'd just be walking about the house and I'd be like dancing to and from.
Wow.
So I think I've quite a big family, and my 2 younger sisters as well, they also Irish danced. So for us, we were constantly dancing around the place, and we continued. And I continued Irish dancing competitively until I was about 21 years of age. So yeah, long time. It was just a huge part of my life. For me, it was a sport because I was training, like I'm practicing maybe 3-4 times a week. It was a competitive sport for me, so there was that competitiveness to it. So yeah, I would call it a sport, but not everyone would, because they still have this idea of, yeah, it's something you do in primary school and when you're growing up. So.
And you said that you stopped doing that at the age of 21. How so?
So the only reason I did stop was that's the age I moved to London to do my teacher training. So for me, my younger siblings continued, but I moved away from home. And there were Irish dancing schools in England and close to where I was. But depending on the Irish dancing organisation that you're a part of, you're a part of a dancing school. And you can't just switch schools. Well, you can, but there's, it's not really worth it when you're that age, because sometimes they can give you like a ban, maybe a year or two if you switch schools. And there's this restyling process, like from the steps that you're doing into the sort of the new school that you're with. So so my sisters still dance with my old school. So for me, it was like when I would travel home, I would dance, but when I was away, then I wouldn't.
Okay, and did you miss it though?
Yeah, of course. I missed the sense of like community with it. So I had all my Irish dancing friends, and it was a huge part of my life. But for me, I kind of continued in another way. So when I used to go home, my sister and we used to get hired just through family and friends. We used to get hired to Irish dance at weddings and things.
Okay.
So again, it becomes a bit of a job. So I went home and I would train with my sisters, and we would come up with routines for different weddings depending on the people and what they wanted, and we would Irish dance at their weddings for them. And again, that became a thing in Ireland. Suddenly at a lot of weddings, you would have maybe Irish dancing performances from different schools. So my sisters and I, we would go home and Irish dance. So then I did that throughout my 20s as well. So
are there people who, I'm not talking about like the teachers or the people who work at the Irish dance schools, but like, are there people who actually, when it's their job to just sort of go to the competitions and so on, are there like professional competitors when it's like their whole life?
Yeah, well, it is a huge part of your life. So like the competitions that are there, you'll have your regional ones, your local, then your regional, and then you would have maybe All Ireland competitions and then world competitions. And the world competitions would be like the goal. That's kind of what you work towards. The only thing is it's not paid. You don't get paid to do this.
Okay.
It really is a love for it is why you do it. And you put so much money into it with the dresses, the wigs, the shoes, the dance lessons and everything. And it really is just for the love, because you don't get paid for it. In saying that though, I've had some friends who decided to join when they'd sort of got a bit older. They decided to join like Irish dance troupes. And what they do is they will sort of travel the world doing like Irish dancing shows. And they'll get hired to do that. And that then becomes their job. So they'll create routines. They get a lot of work on St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, they go around and they sort of book out like local theatres and stuff like that, and they actually will put on an Irish dancing show.
Yeah, there is this very famous show, right? The River Dance.
River Dance, yes. This is really how Irish dancing became sort of well known globally. Really was back in the day, probably the 90s. So Michael Flatley created an Irish dancing show, and it was River Dance. I can't remember which one came first, because he created a couple of shows. There was River Dance, and then there was Lord of the Dance, and then there was Celtic Tiger as well. So he created these shows with different storylines through them, and it's all through dance, Irish dance. So think of like a ballet show, but with Irish dancing. That really sort of took off and highlighted Irish dancing around the world. And I think if you see You know, if you're ever at a World Irish Dancing Championships and you see the amount of countries that are actually represented there, you can see how widespread Irish dancing actually is. It's not just something that happens in Ireland, but it does happen across the world. So yeah, I'm very proud of that actually. So
yeah. We have some questions on the chat. We have a question from Natalia, and she wants to know if you need to have a super strong body to dance Irish dance.
Okay, so I think as you, the more and more steps you learn, the more and more difficult they get, the more and more strength you need. You know, even just your stamina. You're only on stage for, I would say, two minutes, maybe 3 minutes max.
Oh wow!
And you would have to really impress the adjudicators and stuff. So you have to be at the top of your game for fitness, because for those, I could be over exaggerating, 3 minutes maybe. I can't remember what the actual timing is, but the timing of the competition dances, you're there to sort of impress them. So you have to have a really good stamina and really good fitness to be able to dance the steps to the best of your ability. There's a lot of high kicks. There's a lot of like hitting the floor, you know, crossing your feet, lifting your legs, back kicks, front kicks, and you're moving across the whole stage. Just never ending. So it does take a level of fitness that you need to have, a level of flexibility, even within your ankles, being able to move your ankles in that way. And so yeah, you'd sort of build up your body over time, that it would become stronger and stronger. So yeah.
Okay. We have another question that is not exactly related to Irish dancing, but Piotr wants to know, what are you teaching? And Hannah wants to know who you're teaching.
Okay, sure. So just my job in general, my teaching job, yeah?
I think so.
No, that's fine. So I am a primary teacher. I'm primary based. And this year I'm teaching year 4, a class of year 4 students. So because I'm primary, I teach all of the subjects, so English, math, science, character education, all of that. And then they also have specialist teachers for things like Arabic, Islamic studies, PE, and art.
And can you tell us a little bit about your students then? For example, where they're from?
Sure. So we are an international school. So we have students from anywhere really. We have Western students. So we have we have some UK-based students. We have some American students, some European students as well. But the majority of them would be sort of Qatari, or they would be sort of from the Middle Eastern countries. So we'll have Egyptians, we'll have people from Lebanon. I have a student from Iraq as well. So yeah, there's sort of like a wide range of students, which is great. I love that because then when we have International Day celebrations, we celebrate the fact that we are an international school. So we have a celebration every year, International Week. And what we do during that week is we really promote sort of our home countries and our cultures. And that's a great opportunity for me, because I obviously always take the Ireland and the Irish ones. So I have actually taught some of my students in the past, like during that time, to Irish dance. Yeah, so like I'll have them come in and I'll have the classroom completely decorated in like Irish flags and Irish things, Irish culture. Sometimes I teach them some Irish language as well. And then, yeah, the Irish dancing, that's the most fun part. I think the part they love the most is they're not allowed to move their arms. So like they'll try kicking up their legs and everything, and they're hopping around, and I'm like, no, you have to keep your arms down, and they're like, oh, and they always forget. So it's really sweet. They get really into it and really involved, and it's good for me, because then I can share my culture, and I get excited about it.
Very cool. So then there is a question that kind of, Yeah, it's kind of related to what you just said. Are there any Irish dance schools in Qatar?
There is. Funny enough, since Dorota, you first contacted me about this, I've been doing more research because I wanted to find out actually were there any here, and there is. In fact, and the lessons happen just a couple of towers down from me. Yeah, so they're an Irish dance school here, and they are linked with the Commission Organisation of Irish Dancing. So yeah, they actually have like Middle Eastern championships and things. So they will travel to competitions, and they practice here. And there's enough dancers where they have some team dancing as well. And I also checked; they can also do adult classes for fitness. So it's definitely something I might get back into, even just to keep my fitness back up again, but also just reconnect with it as well. So yeah, I'm very happy to report Qatar do have Irish dancing schools as well.
Very cool. Okay, and a question from Mihal. How many Irish dances do you know?
Wow, lots. So you have, there's sort of main groups of Irish dances. You know, if you're a competitive Irish dancer, usually when you start when you're young, you'll go to Irish dancing competitions and you will start off with light dances. So that's when we were talking about the difference in the vocabulary between the pumps and the heavy shoes, the ones that make the sound. You start off with the pumps and the light shoes, and you can dance, usually the beginning one is like a jig. Okay, there's like beginner's jigs, and then there's beginner reels. And they're usually the two first ones you learn, and they have different time signatures. So they're completely different, different timings, different steps that you do to them. So you can have light jigs and then reels, and then you can also have slip jigs. So slip jigs, again, different music, different time signature, and again, different moves to it. So yeah, so that would be sort of your solo beginner dances. Then as you sort of progress the older you get, you move into like heavy shoe dances. So again, you can have a jig, but this time it's a heavy jig. They'll call it a heavy jig. And that would be, again, jig timing, but different kind of, again, different music. It's all in the timing and the time signatures. Then you have, you can do hornpipes as well. That would be after a heavy jig, you might learn a hornpipe. And they would be your two main heavy shoe dances. But then you can also do a heavy reel. So you have the fast music for the reel, and that's the one where in the pumps, you'll be going around, kicking your feet, moving around very quick. But you can also use the same music, but with heavy shoes, and then that's all clicking very fast. And again, that's a heavy reel. So that would be like, and then you have set dances. So throughout your Irish dancing, you learn like traditional set dances, and these are like a set dance. They're all sporadic with like, if you dance a certain, like for example, there's a traditional set dance called St. Patrick's Day, and it has very specific moves. Everyone learns it. It's kind of like a beginner set dance. It's usually one you do by yourself, and it's in a competition set dance when you do by yourself. And then as you progress, you get to choose. There's loads of different set dances you can choose from, and depending on which one you choose, it has different amount of music, different time signatures, and there's traditional ones that have set like steps, and then there's other ones where you can actually be more creative and make the steps up to the music, and that usually happens when you get older, with those types of set dances. And then you have your céilí dances. So if you're talking about team dances, there's lots of, they all have specific moves. You can't, unless you're doing an invented dance, which is like, I think 12 or 16 dancers or over, that's its own category. You could do like an 8-hand reel, you could do a fairy reel, which is 6 people. And then there's 4-hand reels, 2-hand reels, 3, then there's 3 as well. So again, different team dances as well. So like over your whole dancing career, you're dancing lots of different types of steps, and it always gets progressively harder the older you get.
Okay, so many dances.
Many dances. Sorry, this is my problem. When I get talking about Irish dancing, I'm like, okay, so
no, this is awesome. This is awesome. We get to really dive into it. That's great. Do you want to talk a little bit about the costumes, and maybe we could show some pictures?
Okay, right. So
do you want me to pull it up then?
I feel like I need to explain first. So
Okay.
what's coming? So I sent through a few photos of me throughout the years of Irish dancing. But whenever I was a lot younger, it was a lot different to what it is now. So Irish dancing competitions wise has progressed loads since I was younger. So, you know, when I was younger, you had more traditional dresses, you know, team sort of dresses. And now when you look at an Irish dancing competition, you see the big wigs, you see the big dresses, everyone's wearing fake tan, you have makeup and jewelry and everything. And it's all very great. But when I was younger, back in my day, you didn't have any of that. So what you had to do was the night before the competitions, my mum would have to sit with me and actually use the rollers and curl my hair.
I think we need the visual.
Okay, you can. Okay, I feel like I've explained it now. But yeah, so I had to get my hair curled, and then you'd be dancing all day in it. Your hair would get super frizzy. So yeah, so you can see like progression of what Irish dancing dresses looked like. So yeah, that's my natural hair. But if you look to the right, where I'm wearing the number 15, that was sort of my latest Irish dancing dress. So you can see how it's more glitzy. You know, I'm wearing the Irish dancing wig, and it's got the headband. I've got my makeup on and stuff. The other photos are like back when I was primary school, and you can see like the team dresses were the green ones, and so each dancing school has a particular team dress, and that's how you know which school they're from because of what dress they wear. So the green, the darker green one is like the older version, and then we updated our school to the other green one, which it has more of a flat front on it. And then the pink one was my, I think it was one of my first solo dresses. And then, yeah, but even you can see the progression from the pink solo dress to the black solo dress. So, yes.
So we have a question about the wigs. What are they for? Sure.
What are they for?
Yeah.
Again, so traditionally with Irish dancing, I don't know where this came from, but you had to have, it was just seen as you had curly hair. So even if you look at river dance, you'll see all of them have like permed hair, curly hair. I don't know where this came from, but it is tradition that you would curl your hair before competitions or before any Irish dancing thing. So over time, someone just decided, you know, it's just too much work to curl the hair all the time. So why don't we create a wig? So it's just a wig that you can just pop on. Your hair looks curly for the dancing, and then you can take it back off again. So basically that just evolved over time. You had really small curled ones. You could have longer curled ones. You could have like a round hair one, a long one, and then they even had bun wigs. So you could put your hair up into a bun, and then it was just this like clip-on ringlet thing that sort of sat at the top of your head, and then your little headband would sit around it. So it just became this like out of handiness. It was like, I don't have to curl my own hair. I can just put the wig on. But then that caused issues, I think, with some of the dancing, because say, for example, you didn't clip your wig in properly and it sort of fell off when you were dancing. You know, I think you lose marks for that, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember if you lose marks or you get disqualified for it, but it's not a good thing if it falls off. So you'll see a lot of Irish dancers who've come up with great ways to, so usually you'll see like the hair underneath, you'll put like a big your own hair in a bun at the top, but also a bun at the bottom. And when you clip the wig in at the top, and then you clip it in at the bottom, and then all down the side is where you'll just hair grips in down the side, just to make sure nothing falls off. So,
are you wearing a wig in this last picture then? The one with number 15?
Yes, that's my Irish dancing wig.
Okay.
You can't really see it because my hair was quite dark, so it's got the dark background, so you can't really see it very well there. But I think I'm wearing a wig in the next pictures as well.
Okay. Do you wanna? Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So this is my wig. So you can see how it's quite sort of long at the sides. I went for a longer sort of shaped wig. And then the little rollers you can see in my team photo. To make it blend well with the wig, you would usually curl the front of your hair as well, so that it would sit nicely in around the headband, so it wasn't just one little wig sitting at the top. So yeah. So I think one of those pictures, one at the top with the stage behind me, that was the World Championships in 2008, and they were in Belfast that year. So yeah, I was there. We had qualified for the Worlds that year, and we ended up getting 5th place, I think.
Wow! So, congratulations!
Thank you.
Should I go on with the slideshow?
Yeah, feel free.
Okay, so then over here we actually see sort of parts of the dance, yeah?
Yeah, so my sister took these photos. So this was, when you go to the World Championships, so this is the Ceilidh competition. So do you remember we talked about how Ceilidh is a team dance? So it's a team dance with 8 people. So here's 8 of us, and we're coming on to do the dance. So the smaller photo is actually how we walk onto the stage. We follow each other. And then we drop hands, turn, and we move back. And we sort of start with the starting formation. So my sister managed to get a couple of pictures. This was our second dance because out of all of the teams, I can't remember how many teams there were that year. I think there was over, I don't know, close to 100 teams that were competing. Wow. So what they do is they everyone gets their chance of dancing, and they dance once. And then the adjudicators decide sort of their top teams to come back and dance again. And that's called a recall. So you get a recall. So our first Ceilidh dance was quite a fast one. It was a reel-based one. And then we ended up getting a recall, which is good because that means you have a chance of winning. You're going to get placed. And then we danced again. So this was the second dance, and it's a lot slower, this one, because it's called St. Patrick's Day, and it was more of a jig timing. So we got some photos of the beginning of the dance, and I think I sent you a video as well. So there might be a video of the end of the dance, just to kind of give you an idea of the movements and what that looks like in a team.
Okay, let's see it.
See if you can see which one is me.
Yeah, I think you're right now in the front, right? And now you... Oh, I don't
know. We all look the same.
Well, very similar. There is I've got 3 candidates, well, 2. You're on the right now, yeah?
I'm on the right, yeah. So I'm to the right side, and I'm closest to the front of the stage.
It's a big audience too.
Yeah, a lot of people there. So usually you bow to the adjudicators, and then you bow to the musicians, because it's actual musicians that sit there playing all day. And then that's kind of how you walk off. And then they'll call the next team and bring the next team on as well. So, so yeah, that was just kind of the end of the dance.
Very cool. Okay, we have a question from Hannah. Do you need to have an exceptional aptitude to become a professional dancer?
I think if you were to become a professional dancer, you would have to be really, really passionate and really dedicated to give up a lot of your time in order to. You do have to be at a very good standard, I think. And again, it depends on which sort of groups and things you join. I know with the river dance, if you were to join a river dance troupe and that show that goes around, they're at a very, very high standard. And the standard gets better all the time. In terms of technique, has just absolutely been perfected over the years. And there's even new moves and things being added all the time. And then that gives you another thing to work towards and perfect. So I think if you were to be a professional dancer, you would have to have sort of a very high standard of Irish dancing and a passion to keep going.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about this distinction between solo dancing and team dancing? So we talked about the clothing is different.
Yes, with the team dancing, it's light shoes. It's always the pumps, and there are lots of different team dances. So you can anything more than one essentially. So you can have 2 hand, so just 2 people, 3 people. You can have 3 hand reels. You can have 4 hand reels, 6 hand reels, 8 hand reels, which is the Cayley one. You can have 12. I think 12 people or more, then it's an invented dance. So a lot of the movements with these ones, because obviously the solo dancing, you're not allowed to move your arms. Your arms are constantly on your side, and they have to be stuck there. Team dancing, you have a bit more, again, how you move you can move your arms, but how you move your arms is important. So there's different movements that you do with them. Different timings when you catch hands, when you drop hands, which hands to go under, movements around each other. So there's all these rules about, if you're going to the right, you have to go in front of the person. If you're going to the left, you go behind the person. If you're crossing over, you have to meet left shoulder to left shoulder or things like that. So there's all these particular rules around how you move in a team dance. And again, there's traditional dances, which would be 4 hands and your 6 hands and your 8 hands. But when you get to invented dances, it's pretty cool because you can actually create the music, which music you want, and also the movements that you make. So a lot of Irish dancers and schools love doing this because you can get really creative with your moves and even just movements around each other as a team. So that's really evolved over the years, and they can have certain themes to them and certain stories behind them. So it's kind of branched from this river dance theme that there's a story behind the dance, very similar then for the invented dances. But when it comes to solo dancing, you're on your own. So you have to practice whatever dance you're competing in. So if it's a jig or a reel or a slip jig, hornpipe, you sort of perfect those dances by yourself, but your arms have to stay by your side, nice straight back, and then there's all these different moves that you can do. But again, the moves that you do are evolving all the time. And, technique and things, and there's different styles of dancing as well, and how a dancer performs, which comes down to whenever the judges are adjudicating. It comes down to us. They're if they're choosing winners or giving points and not points, it's down to their personal taste of what they with the movements, or with some adjudicators might prefer a lot of rhythms, whereas some might prefer to see more lifts and turns and things like that. So again, personal preference when they sort of adjudicate. But that's it really. Solo, you're on your own. Teams, you're with a team. And there's traditional dances and invented dances for both.
And if you're competing solo, to create your routine, you work with your teacher, or do you do it on your own? Is that on the dancer or more on your dance teacher?
More, it's the dance teacher that would be. So you have, again, when you first start, you have all the traditional ones, the jigs, the reels. As you get older and get better, if you start winning competitions, you can move from like a pre-open to an open stage.
Mm-hmm.
And when you move into the open stage of a competition is when you can start using open dances. So you can start, this is where you start getting a bit more creative with your moves,
Mm-hmm.
but that is down to the teacher. So the teacher will teach you the moves, and then you perfect them together, you practice them together, and then you go and you perform.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, and again, everyone has their own style. So with a certain Irish dancing school, you can tell, yeah, that's some of their steps because that's their style. That's how they like to move around and perform. Whereas you can have very different styles for different schools. So you kind of like to keep it towards those styles, so the teacher will teach and then you go and you dance them. If you get older, sometimes the teachers can give you a little bit of flexibility and they're saying, why don't you come up with something and we'll work together on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a little bit of freedom that way too, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have quite a few questions. So from Piotr, how much time does it take to dance one dance?
Okay.
So you said it was something between 2 to 3 minutes?
Yeah, I think so. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. So I'm thinking of a movement. So when you go on the stage, you do a lead round. So that would be 16 bars of music. And then you have another 16 bars for your first step, and then another 16 bars for your second step. So usually you'll do a lead round, first step on both feet, and then second step on both feet. So that many bars of music, depending on the time signature of the music, then that's sort of where the timing goes off a little bit.
So it's like very precise, huh?
Yeah.
Everything about it, actually.
Yeah.
Like what you wear, what steps you choose, and then how long it takes. It's very, compartmentalized almost.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But like for team dances, that would be slightly longer because they have more movements to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sort of argue that team dancing is more like a lot of the time you're just skipping. So you sort of just skip and you're hopping over. There's not too much like flair with the moves or anything. So you can dance for longer. So I think the team dances are longer because they have so many movements to get through. Solo dancing then is the specific time that they give you on stage because they have to give everyone else the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So like going up how much time you're going to get on the stage, and then you're like, right, I need to do this and this, and then be really out of breath afterwards and have the water waiting at the other side.
So that kind of answers Julia's question. Are you tired after the dance? So you do, even though it's not that long, you do get tired, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and again, this is where fitness comes in. The more practice you do, the more perfect practice you do. So the more you practice as if you actually are on stage performing, the easier it becomes, the fitter you become. If you're not so much in good shape, then you can become really, really tired. And you can see it in the dance moves as well. So, for example, some dancers that don't have the stamina, you'll see they start off really, really well, and you're like, oh, they're doing really good. And then as the dance goes on, you can see them starting to like fade, and they're not kicking as high, or they're not. So it really does take a lot out of you. I think when I don't know, I used to get really, really warm in the dresses, which meant that when I came off the stage, there was times like my sisters used to be standing at the side of the stage because they knew that I was likely to faint. And I think it was because I had the wig, I had the dress, you were dancing, it was, and when I used to come off the stage, they used to just zip down the back of my dress, and then they used to kind of like fan me down, and then I'd be fine. But it is very, very athletic, and it does take a lot out of you. Yeah.
Okay, and how old were you when you danced first? Or I'm assuming that's a question about like a competition, or maybe when, so you started in primary school.
Mm-hmm. So I started when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, my younger sister, she started when she was 3. But that's because she was dancing around the house with us anyway, and she really wanted to go. But yeah, I started when I was about 4, going weekly. I think my first feis would have been more local feishes. So sometimes they do even like a school feis. So I probably took part in a school feis with just my dancing school and my friends in my age group that I was dancing with. I think we danced maybe when I was about 5, probably. Yeah, so that would have been like my first feis. And then more local feishes where I started to get more competitive would have been when I was like 6 or 7. And that's when I joined my team dancing as well. So I started competing at that age. I think when you start competing in, like, for me, it was the regional. So our regional would have been the Ulster Championships. And then if you dance in an Ulster Championships and you get placed, then you qualify for the World Championships. So the All Irelands and then the Worlds as well. So I would have been doing that from, I would say, 8 or 9 years of age. So yeah, every year I always would have competed at the Ulster and the All Irelands. Yeah.
That's amazing. You were really, really young. Do dancers get injured often?
Yes. Well, no, that's probably just me.
That's a question from Natalia over here.
Sorry. It depends. I think for me, I have a weak ankle, and there was one year I was dancing at the Ulster Championships, and I was done my whole dance, and I was coming into the last, I think maybe 4 or 5 bars of the music, and then I would have been finished. And I was really happy with how I danced. And there's a part where my ending part was when I go up on my toe. So like in ballet they go up in their toes. So I would have done that. So I would have had to go on toe and toe, but obviously my weak ankle gave out. So I went toe and then my ankle gave out, and then I just went down on stage. And you do see other competitors, they go down on stage, or if they're practicing a lot, with their school, they can get injured over time. And I think it is natural because you're putting your body through so much. And even at the competitions, they do have medical staff there. So like on the big competitions, they will have paramedics and stuff sort of sitting down the side, making sure that if there's any injuries going on, you get a lot of slipping on the stage as well. You slip. So they put special things on. They actually put it on throughout the week of the competitions on the stage, like grip stuff, so that it makes it less slippy. But accidents happen, injuries happen. But yeah, for me, they always happened often.
Okay, and we have a question from Hannah. What is the most known Irish dance school in the world?
The most well-known one?
Yeah.
Oh, again, depends on the organization that you're part of. So there's lots of different Irish dancing organizations, but the main two would be An Commission and Commission Irish Dancing. They're 2 separate Irish dancing organizations with their own sets of rules and with their own teachers and dance schools. So again, depends who is, for example, and they all have their own competitions. So each one will have regional competitions, All Ireland competitions, and world competitions. And not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people know the difference. So depending which organization you're part of will then determine which Irish dancing schools that you know. And you're more likely to know the ones in your area because you're going to those competitions with them all the time. So you'll know they're from this school and they're from that school. And it's really strange. You tend to grow up knowing who your competition is and which schools that you're kind of going against when you're taking part. So like, I wouldn't say that there's one like really well-known one. I would just say that it just depends which organization you're part of, and depends where you're from.
Okay, we're almost out of time, and I want to ask you that one last question, and I also want to show that picture, the last picture that we have on our slideshow. Yes. I think that would be a good background to the question of like what benefits do you see for yourself in Irish dancing, and why would you advise people to take up Irish dancing?
Okay, it's great for fitness. If anything, for me, it was more of a cultural thing. It's a huge part of Irish culture. Oh gosh, there's me. So yeah, for me, it's a cultural thing. I just really enjoy it. I love every single part of it. It's something that I can enjoy with my sisters as well. It's something I can enjoy with my friends. But it's really good fitness, really, really good fitness. It's something you can then go on to teach, which is really good. You can teach and you can sort of share any knowledge and things like that. So this picture is of me on my wedding day. So it was a tradition at this point that my sisters and we used to Irish dance at weddings. So, and even family weddings. So we danced, we were hired for other weddings, but family weddings. So for me, when it came to my own wedding day, everyone was like, will she, won't she, will she do it? And so I decided not to tell anyone, and I practiced this routine with two of my really close friends and my sisters. And we did this Irish dancing routine on my wedding day just to surprise everyone. But I was really lucky, very, very fortunate that a lot of my international friends, including yourself, I got to share that with them.
Yeah, that was amazing, actually. And we did ask you even on the day of the wedding when we arrived, or the day before the wedding, when we arrived, and we were like, "Are you gonna dance?" And you were like, "I don't know."
I was like, "Not on my own wedding." But yeah, so it was for me, it was just a real highlight of the day that I was able to sort of share that with you guys. So obviously my family know Irish dancing, everyone in Ireland knows Irish dancing, but even to be able to share that with all of my international friends and you guys, it's just, highlight of the day. Made me very happy.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. I want to also say thank you to all the attendees, all the students that asked all those interesting questions. It was great to have you with us, Kira. And I'll see all of you in our next webinar.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me.
Thank you, and see you soon.